of the night. Gary Franchi here. You're watching Between the Headlines. Oh yes, it's been a very busy news day here in the newsroom. We've been tracking stories all day, doing interviews and administrative work. So we're glad you joined us. We've got some news we're going to get at today. But first, we're going to get to our White House rundown. Good evening. I'm Gary Franchi, Next News Network Chief White House Correspondent, delivering the latest White House news from the past 24 hours in partnership with our streaming team at Trump Daily Post. President Trump used a major Las Vegas stop to press the case for no tax on tips, stronger manufacturing, tighter border security, and Republican momentum heading into the November midterms, then headed back to Washington after an afternoon event built around results for working Americans. We'll walk you through the president's travel from Southern California into Nevada, his remarks at Red Rock, and the administration updates that rounded out the day. And from today's pool reporting, the travel sequence began Tuesday night in California. The president's motorcade left Trump National at 8:23 Pacific, moved to Marine One, and the helicopter lifted at 8:29. Security outside the club was heavy, with water and rooftop assets in place, while a small protest stood nearby. Minutes later, Los Angeles International Airport, Marine One, landed at 8:47 p.m. Now, that was Pacific time. Before boarding the plane to Las Vegas, President Trump took questions on several subjects, including Jeanine Pirro, Congressman Max Miller, Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Michigan primary. In a follow-up pool, quotes from the exchange, the president said he had not made a final decision on Pirro's status and pushed back on criticism tied to the vandalism matter, pointing to video and witness evidence. Then the president arrived in Las Vegas at 9:56 p.m. local time, with the temperature still at 99 degrees. He stepped off the aircraft at 10:12, pumped his fist to the press pool, and boarded the motorcade as Walt Nauta carried a brown briefcase. By 10:32 p.m., the motorcade reached the Trump Hotel, and the White House called a lid for the night, closing out the public schedule in Nevada. Wednesday morning into midday, the press pool held at the Trump Hotel ahead of the president's economic speech. Las Vegas heat climbed to 106 degrees just before noon as advisors gathered and preparations continued for the Red Rock event. At 1:02 p.m. Pacific, the motorcade rolled from the hotel to the Red Rock Casino. On arrival, the pool entered a ballroom filled with several hundred supporters. The visual message was unmistakable: signs for Trump accounts and no tax on tips, with "Powering the American Dream" set behind the podium. Before the president took the stage, UFC President Dana White warmed up the crowd and tied the message directly to service industry workers, a natural fit for a Nevada audience. Separate pool color from the trip also offered an inside look at the current Air Force One press cabin, describing more spacious seating, personal storage and screens, a smoother ride, and a very cold interior behind a thick curtain dividing the press from staff and Secret Service. President Trump began speaking at about 2:10 p.m. Pacific, with Lee Greenwood playing as he walked out. He saluted a local fallen officer, called out Governor Joe Lombardo and midterm candidates, praised no tax on tips and broader tax relief, highlighted manufacturing growth, stock market strength, and record exports, and hammered home border security with a focus on migrant crime crackdowns. He also acknowledged Mike Tyson, mentioned his long relationship with him, and took aim at the media to loud boos from the crowd, and brought up the Michigan Democrat Abdul El-Sayed as Republicans sharpened their midterm case. Those remarks wrapped at 3:23 p.m. And from there, the press pool loaded back into the motorcade at 3:37 p.m. Pacific and headed to the airport behind schedule. At 4 p.m., the president boarded Air Force One for the return to Joint Base Andrews. During the day, he also mentioned figures including Dean Cain, Governor Lombardo, Tillman Fertitta, and several midterm candidates, as he kept the focus on political momentum and the administration's record. At 4:21 Pacific, Wheels Up began on the flight back east, with the trip expected to take about 4 hours as the president returned to Washington after that fast Nevada swing. In a White House release, the administration spotlighted what it called big wins for Nevada under President Trump and Republican leadership. No tax on tips and overtime for more than 590,000 Nevada workers and seniors. 180 million for rural health initiatives, lower crime in Las Vegas and statewide, a 14-month stretch with no illegal alien releases, and Las Vegas home prices down nearly 4%. The release also highlighted massive investment commitments, including Apple's $600 billion pledge, Amazon's $340 billion investment, Vantage Data Center's $3 billion Nevada project, plus new commitments from Crocs and First Majestic, and a federal lands and energy task force with Governor Lombardo. In another White House announcement, President Trump named a presidential delegation to Colombia for the August 7th inauguration of President-elect Abelardo de la Espriella, led by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and including officials from the State Department, DEA, DOJ, the Vice President's National Security Office, and House Republican Mario Diaz-Balart. And that is the White House beat for the last 24 hours. The president campaigning from strength on taxes, jobs, manufacturing, and border enforcement. Then returning to Washington with the administration still pushing policy and diplomatic business forward. And that's your White House rundown for the past 24 hours. Now let's move from the West Wing file into the rest of tonight's top stories, and welcome you to the program. It's great to see y'all here filing in at this hour. My apologies for the late production. We do what we can here to keep things moving along with a light staff, to say the least. Ranger, Carrie, your wife is too pretty for you. Oh, well, thank you for that. She certainly is my kukla. I love her very much. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about here, especially this new candidate who is emerging in Michigan. Yeah. And then we also have some discussions about, well, the Muslim takeover that's sparking outrage across the United States right now. Lots of very disturbing video that's going viral. You'll see it, as well as we found some of President Trump's remarks on Islam that we'll be playing for you tonight, as well as we are going to take square aim at Candace Owens. It's not something I really like to focus on, you know, the gossip, the garbage, whatever it is she's spewing, but there was some interesting remarks that were made on the Joe Rogan podcast today that are going viral, certainly trending. So if it's trending and it makes sense, then we build a story around it. And boy, do we have a story for you on that topic. So we're going to get into all of that and make sure that our cameras are behaving tonight. Yeah, make sure you stay on me, sir. I didn't ask you to move. All right, let me just check these shots real quick. See, I have a handy little remote. I can control my camera. And it loves to just kind of drift off into its own world. And let's see, so if I move here, are we going to go that way? That way? No. Right there, and can we go up? Oh, too much. Oh, that looks pretty good right there. All right, no tracking. I told you, no tracking. All right. All right, I love you guys. All right, we're going to get into this first story tonight. President Trump is making some remarks about El-Sayed. Making headlines. Okay, Brian, I think I've got it. I think we can pull this one up. Oh! Really? Really? Is that where you're going to... I spoke too soon. Okay. Turn off tracking. Tracking is disabled. And now return to Gary. But not that Gary. Move up a little bit. Why does it continue to... I don't want... turn off tracking. Oh my God. Okay. Tracking off. Seriously. I just turned tracking off, fool. Unbelievable. Oh. My goodness. Why does this stupid camera do this? I turn off tracking and it decides that it still wants to track me anyway. Pre-program. Okay. You see, look, it's not tracking me. Okay, good. It's not tracking, so it shouldn't track. Brian, did you disable hand gestures on the OBSBot Center? Double check real quick if you don't mind. I'd like to do a show tonight without having AI destroy my show. Okay. Don't close that. You could have just minimized it, man. Oh my Lord. Seriously, dude? It's Okay. Tracking, speed, standard, sport, AI human tracking. It says normal, zone tracking. Okay, what about hand gestures? Gesture control. Third down. Click that. Turn that off. Okay, scroll down. Voice control. Open voice control. Maybe I said something and it's like, okay. That's all off. Zoom factor. Audio. Mirror. Okay. Export. Console. Tracking speed. You know what says tracking speed? See where it says standard? See if you can deselect that. No? Okay. All right. There's no reason it should be tracking us then. It's probably just the freaking CIA. Oh, of course. Yeah, see the shot there? All right, so I'm going to just bring it over another hair. You guys have no idea the stuff that we have to deal with here, day in and day out, just to produce this content. The behind-the-scenes stuff, all day long, guys. All right, I think we could. I'm not gonna. Should I speak too? I'm gonna speak too soon. Again, watch. All right, we're gonna get this started. God bless America. Where do we even begin? Okay, so we've got the slider over the shoulder, Bert, feed, chat. Okay. God bless America. All right, Brian, let's see if we can survive this. Let me open up my chat room over here so I can see what folks are saying. Gary, the mistakes and glitches make you human. We love you, Gary and Brian. Just checking in. All right. Okay, keep the party going. That's what we're going to do tonight. All right, let's go, Brian, before something else breaks. Great news for the Republican Party. That's what President Trump wrote on Truth Social, calling Abdul El-Sayed a communist loser. And that's the shot that blew this wide open. Michigan Democrats just picked the exact face of their radical coalition. And when I stack Trump's warning next to the money, the family ties, and the 9/11 stain, this gets ugly very fast. We're talking about $115,000 from donors tied to CAIR leadership circles that hit Abdul El-Sayed's campaign. So I want you to take a little pause right there and think about it. Then Kyle Shielder told Ted Cruz that El-Sayed's father-in-law held leadership roles in CAIR Michigan and the ISNA Founders Committee, while El-Sayed's orbit touched Emgage too. You see what Democrats and the media are trying to do here? They're trying to sanitize it. And it's not some quirky progressive with a nice smile. Michigan Democrats elevated a man wrapped in socialism, anti-Israel extremism, and Muslim Brotherhood-linked networks. And they want working families to treat that like normal politics. Well, absolutely not. We've got the details. But you see, Michigan Democrats, they just handed the country another reminder that when control of Congress is on the line, financial markets hate uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds volatility, especially heading into a volatile stock market stretch before Election Day. If you want to protect what you've built, Noble Gold Investments gives everyday Americans a simple, easy way to use physical gold and silver to hedge the volatility. Head on over to Noble Gold Investments because for over a decade, they've helped everyday Americans protect their wealth with precious metals before the next political mess hits their savings. Go to nextnewsgold.com or call that number on the screen, 877-646-5347. When you mention my name and open a new qualified account, you get a free 10-ounce silver bar. That's right, a 10-ounce silver bar bonus. It hits while it still matters. Don't let radicals rattle your future, too. Now, Mark Kelly got pressed about Hassan Piker and refused to disavow Abdul El-Sayed. And that little shrug, it tells you everything. Senate Democrats know exactly who this guy is, and they still circled the wagons. And now, watch how Trump's post and these clips start fitting together piece by piece. So, President Trump said, great news for the Republican Party. A communist loser who hates Jews and Israel is the projected winner in his race with the socialist. As usual, the polls were way off on this one. She was not expected to do nearly as well as she did. Now the Democrats' crazy policies will only get worse. President Trump posting that to Truth Social, putting it in writing. Now here's the rally clip where he doubles down on the Abdul El-Sayed line and says the polls missed the race in Michigan again.
Communist. And the polls were wrong again last night when they thought it would be a landslide victory for a hater of Jews and a hater of Israel. This guy hates Jews. Somebody said, oh, that's a little strong. No, he hates Jews and he hates Israel. Abdul El-Sayed. Can you believe this? This could only happen to me. Abdul El-Sayed, lovely gentleman. He's a man of hate. And now he's going around saying, no, I love everybody. He doesn't love everybody. Put him in office. You're going to find out what he loves.
President Trump certainly knows how to make the case. Next, the left-wing attack machine predictably cries, American Bridge, 21st century. Trump goes off the Islamophobe deep end by alleging that Abdul El-Sayed hates Jewish people with a passion. Here's more.
He doesn't love Israel. He doesn't love Jewish people. He hates them. He hates them with a passion that burns in his heart, and there's not a frickin' thing he can do about it. There's not a thing he can do about it because he hates them.
Wow. So while Democrat operatives rush to smear Trump, new reporting turns back to El-Sayed himself. Fox is now looking at campaign support tied to former CAIR leadership and the six-figure donor money. This bombshell just found that he has terrorism-linked funds. Really not surprising.
Nomination for Senate, defeating Haley Stevens, it came in at a razor-thin margin. That might have caused some sense of humility for a winner, but not every winner.
As bitter and as divisive and as cynical as the campaign against us might have been, I want us to realize that there is so much more that unites us now. Because the campaign that Mike Rogers and Donald Trump and their GOP MAGA allies are launching is already more bitter. You know, they think they want to use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman, keep the name out your damn mouth.
Classy. While that might have been fighting words for Republicans, you heard there at the beginning a call for unity among Democrats. That, though, is not a view that is equally shared by his campaign running buddy, Hassan Piker.
Everyone being like, Abdul has a ton of work to do mending bridges. Here's the take nuke for you, okay? You are all unbelievably Islamophobic pieces of okay? You literally called the dude a terrorist for months on end.
Okay, yeah. So that funding question is only the start. Next up, a counter-terror expert tells Senator Ted Cruz why El-Sayed's family and political connections set off major alarms. News Force reports Kyle Scheidler told Cruz in a Senate testimony about serious red flags. Listen to this.
Does Abdul El-Sayed's candidacy for senator in Michigan concern you?
Yes, sir, it does.
Why is that?
Well, to begin with, I look at the connections that his father-in-law, Chakaku Tayyib, has to Brotherhood-linked groups. This includes being the president at one time of CAIR Michigan, also his presence on the Islamic Society of North America Founders Committee, which is only for those most exclusively devoted to ISNA and provides significant amounts of funding. There are other known Brotherhood members on that committee. I would also look at El-Sayed's ties to a group called Emgage, which purports to be a Muslim sort of get out the vote or candidate recruitment organization, but it has close ties to CAIR. It was created by a former CAIR member who at one time was on a terror watch list and was also a consultant to convicted terrorist Samuel Arian.
Wow.
Do you believe the Islamic Society of North America, or ISNA, is an ongoing part of the Muslim Brotherhood network in the United States?
Yes, sir, I do. There were some HLF documents that reflected hesitation by the Brotherhood that they thought perhaps they were losing control of ISNA at one point, but they appear to have rectified that. As far as I can tell, there are still individuals associated with the Muslim Brotherhood who are in high leadership positions with that organization, and they have never repudiated their ties to the organization.
Wow. So after the Senate testimony, Republicans are not mincing words. Mike Rogers comes out swinging, calling El-Sayed a radical socialist and warning Michigan voters exactly what's at stake. He says Michigan Senate candidate Mike Rogers is obliterating Muslim socialist Abdul El-Sayed as the general election has officially begun. We'll get to the House Speaker's remarks in a moment, but this first is Mike Rogers.
If you woke up this morning thinking we're still California because Wayne County still doesn't have their vote count in, you may be right. Our election system here in Michigan is broken. We're going to do a lot of work between now and November to help get that thing at least back in some semblance of order. First of all, think about it. He just came out a few minutes ago and said that he won the race, so he's declaring victory. This is really about the heart and soul of our country. I have never seen someone so radical, so extreme, get nominated by a political party, and the DSA candidates in the state in two different congressional races look like they're pulling it off as well. The Democrat Party is lost to this hardcore socialist attitude. And I fought terrorism my whole life. I was an FBI special agent, U.S. Army officer, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. I find it shocking that I'm going to go up against a guy who believes America deserved 9/11. That's why this race is so important, Lawrence.
Yeah, he was with Hassan Piker, who had that viewpoint. He may have that viewpoint, but he's very slick. And there's a lot of people that find his message inspirational, even though it's anti-American.
So Rogers framed this as a fight for the country, not just one Senate seat. Now Senator Jim Banks piles on, saying El-Sayed's agenda would make even Bernie Sanders look soft.
Factory workers that live in that state that don't want to vote for a guy like Abdul Rahman El-Sayed, who wants to take away their gun rights. He wants to codify Roe v. Wade and overturn the Dobbs decision. He wants to abolish ICE. And a lot of the working class families in Michigan, just like in Indiana and around the country, these families just want to keep these men and women just want to keep their families safe. And El-Sayed wants to abolish ICE and allow the drug cartel gangs to take over the streets of cities in Michigan. You look at the extreme positions that El-Sayed has staked out, and if he would happen to win in November, he would be the most extreme Democrat, radical United States senator that we've ever had. He would make Bernie Sanders look squishy with the positions that he's staked out. And already this morning, he's trying to moderate and change his tune, but look at what he said throughout the campaign. His rhetoric is dangerous, his policies, his positions are extreme and dangerous. And I have never felt better, up to this point, I have never felt better about Republicans keeping, if not growing, the majority in the United States Senate than how I feel today after watching El-Sayed win this Michigan Democrat primary.
All right.
So Banks says Democrats just nominated their most extreme candidate yet. And when Senate Democrats get asked to disavow him, watch how fast Mark Kelly ducks the question. Laura Loomer on the case there after being asked by Loomer Unleashed to disavow Abdul El-Sayed for campaigning with Hassan Piker. Arizona Democrat Senator Mark Kelly praised Abdul.
I have a question for you about your potential newest colleague, Abdul El-Sayed.
Yeah.
Will you disavow him for campaigning with Hassan Piker, an individual who said America deserved 9/11?
Hey, he won the primary, and we've got about 90 days to the election. In the past, we went back control of the Senate, runs through places like Michigan.
So Senate Democrats are cool with him campaigning with Hassan Piker? I may ask,
I don't know much about it.
He said America deserved 9/11. He called on people to kill your colleague, Senator Rick Scott. And he's pretty much a jihadist. Any comments there?
Nope.
All right.
And you left out the part when he was over there in Iran. Yeah, so Kelly won't touch it, and that tells you plenty about where the Senate Democrats are. Meanwhile, on a separate front, House Republicans have already moved the Save America Act and are pressuring the Senate to act. Trump Daily Post, the House passed the Save America Act. Just 4 GOP senators are needed to send it to the president's desk for signature. 90 days until the 2026 midterm. Senate approve it and send it on to President Trump. No excuses. Next, Senator Mike Lee says Senate Republicans are finally talking less about whether to remove the Save America Act and more about how to get it done. Here's Senator Mike Lee.
I just came from a very productive meeting with Senate Republicans, and the conversation has shifted in a very favorable direction. We're talking now much more about how best to do this, not whether to stay and work on the Save America Act, but what procedural vehicle to use in order to get this thing done. So, look, I always, this is a step-by-step process. I don't want to proclaim victory, but the conversation has moved in a favorable direction. I want to thank Senate Majority Leader John Thune and our whip, John Barrasso, for leading a very productive discussion today.
So he says the conversation is moving in the right direction, but Trump isn't letting the Senate off easy. Here he is calling out weak Republicans and demanding tougher fighters on election security.
If you had fair and strong elections, they would lose 25% of their base. They would never be elected again. And I'm trying to explain that to Republicans, but some of them don't quite understand it. They don't understand it because they're good people. They're good people. They don't know how crooked these people are. I've dealt with a lot of crooked people in my life. They don't know how bad these people are. We got to get the Republicans to be tougher, especially in the Senate, especially in our Senate. Got to get the senators in there. They got to be tough. But they voted in favor of the transgender mutilization of your children. And they voted in favor of men and women's sports. Can you imagine?
So Trump's message is clear: stop stalling, start fighting. Then John Thune answers by saying the real target should be Democrats because now he He says the votes still aren't there. Oh, okay, so Thune is just going to blame Democrats, even though we have a majority.
There are no Democrats who are going to vote for this. All 47 voted against the SAVE Act 5 times. So let's make this an issue in the campaign. How about we go out and turn our fire on Democrats and make it about them opposing the SAVE Act? So we're not, that's the point. So we're not getting any Democrats. The second thing is we are not getting rid of the legislative filibuster. The votes aren't there to do that. I've made it abundantly clear many, many times. And it seems to me some days that I'm the only one here who can count to 50 in this town, but we don't have the votes to get rid of the filibuster, and we aren't flipping 10 Democrats to vote for the Save America Act.
Yeah. So Mike Rogers said, I find it shocking that he must face the guy who believes America deserved 9/11. Read that again, because Michigan Democrats still nominated Abdul El-Sayed after Trump branded him a communist loser who hates Jews and Israel. After Jim Banks warned he would make Bernie Sanders look squishy, and after Mark Kelly got caught protecting him anyway. This is the Democrat machine unmasked, and proud of it. So John Thune needs to stop counting excuses and start counting for Republican votes. The House already passed the Save America Act. Trump is right to hammer soft Senate Republicans, and Mike Lee just said the talks are moving in a favorable direction. Good, then move faster. We've got 90 days. A Michigan Democrat nominee who hands Republicans a neon bright contrast and a country that cannot afford more paralysis. So hit the comments with one word, pass, and share this with every voter who still thinks Abdul El-Sayed is just another Democrat, and keep the pressure on Thune until the Senate acts like Trump already does, tough, clear, and ready to win. And we have this announcement right now. I'm going to share it with you about our new Signal Corps group. So basically what you just heard there, that 151,000 CAIR Circle story and Mark Kelly's cowardly refusal to disavow are exactly why our inside channel matters tonight. Text White House to 844-840-4963. Next News Network is credentialed inside the White House, and our nightly briefing from the press pool drops what we pulled straight from the building into your phone before the algorithm starts playing games. And if reading isn't enough anymore, just text the word signal to that same number and enlist in the Next News Signal Corps, where real missions, real ranks, real briefings, and a command center turn viewers into operators. All right. We made it through, Brian. Is that camera still behaving? Okay, it looks like it is. All right, good to see everybody here. Okay, so that video is going to drop. Brian, since we're like so late tonight, I know we've got to get all these things out, but I want to get them out. Just drop them. I don't want them dropping tomorrow. Let's get them all. I mean, in the morning tomorrow. Let's just get them out. Let's see. I'm not sure what your schedule looks like. I didn't schedule anything yet. Yeah, you got 10:15 for the White House story, so you can make this first one. Make it 10:30. The next one 11:30, and the third one 12:30. Just want to make sure you got those notes. Okay, we got more news ahead here, whereas we shift gears into Charlie Kirk's remarks resurfacing, as are President Trump's remarks, and some wild footage out of some town hall meetings that are erupting. You got to see this stuff. So don't go anywhere. All right, is my camera going to play nice? I hope so. McKinney residents packed 2 rooms, stood in the lobby for 5 hours, and the council still rammed through a 7-0 vote. So sit with that for a moment. Americans showed up in force. Mothers said no to Sharia law, and the local establishment looked them dead in the face and bulldozed them anyway. And wait until you hear the Muslim Brotherhood clip that explains exactly why they keep doing this. I personally say no to Sharia law. That's the quote that hit the Mooresville chamber while officials admitted that the mosque site had been cleared back in 1998, and that is the part that really burns. You show up now and you learn that the fix got baked in years ago while nobody told the town. Then McKinney dragged citizens through over 5 hours of testimony and still drops a 7-0 stamp of approval. And you can feel the betrayal in that number. You see, it's not zoning trivia, and you know it. Democrats, cowardly councils, and the corporate gatekeepers keep importing the conflict that our troops fought overseas and then smear you for noticing. You see, McKinney residents got 5 hours to speak and then got ignored, which tells you exactly why I dig into tools that actually work, not slogans. I started researching red light therapy with Jonathan Otto because fatigue starts where the body loses control. You see, mitochondria as cellular batteries, think about that. And it matters because when those systems lag, everything downstream feels it first, especially under sustained stress and pressure. Red and near infrared light therapy is a well-researched tool that supports cellular batteries, creates more cellular energy, reduces stress at the cellular level, and supports natural repair processes. I use red light therapy because it's actually built to work with 9 clinically studied wavelengths, dual chip technology, and twice the power in standard devices. So go to myredlight.com/NNN. Use NNN Rep 25 for individual items, NNN Rep 30 for bundles. Stock is limited. Weak systems fail when pressure hits. Quote, we can peacefully infiltrate via immigration. That's the line they said out loud. They stopped hiding the playbook because Western politicians keep doing the work for them. And when you stack that next to Mooresville and McKinney, the whole scam snaps into focus. So let's get into the receipts. So President Trump first, though, said this many years ago. I think Islam hates us. He warned about the Quran, radical mosque, and the need for surveillance. And Michigan just nominated a candidate with Muslim Brotherhood-linked ties. Let's go to this flashback with President Trump.
Islam hates us.
Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them. You look at what's happening with the Quran, it's a pretty scary thing. There's something there that teaches some very negative vibe. They do not respect us at all. Large portions of a group of people, Islam, large portions want to use very, very harsh means. You have more than a handful of moderate Muslims, but you certainly have a problem with Muslims. If you have people coming out of mosques with hatred and with death in their eyes and on their minds, we're going to have to do something. They're trying to take over our children and convince them how wonderful ISIS is and how wonderful Islam is, and we don't know what's happening. And we have to look at the Muslims, and we have to do something. We cannot stand by and be the stupid people while our country is destroyed. I want surveillance of certain mosques, okay?
President Trump's own words. Right there. So he was sounding that alarm years ago. Now Marco Rubio picks up the same thread and spells it out. Radical Islam isn't regional. It's a direct threat to America and the West.
Ultimately, all radical Islamic movements in the world identify the West writ large, but the United States in particular, as the greatest evil on the earth. And every chance to have the notion that somehow radical Islam would be comfortable with simply controlling some province in Iraq or Syria is just not borne out by history. Radical Islam has shown that their desire is not simply to occupy one part of the world and be happy with their own little caliphate. They want to expand. It's revolutionary in its nature. It seeks to expand and control more territories and more people. And radical Islam has designs openly on the West, on the United States, on Europe. We've seen that progress there as well. And they are prepared to conduct acts of terrorism. In the case of Iran, nation-state actions, assassinations, murders, you name it, whatever it takes for them to gain their influence and ultimately their domination of different cultures and societies. That's a clear and imminent threat to the world and to the broader West, but especially to the United States, who they identify as the chief source of evil on the planet. Okay, the reason why they hate the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the leadership of the UAE, of Bahrain, is because they've allowed the United States to partner with them. That's why they hate them. They consider them infidels for it. They hate Israel. But they also hate America. And they hate anywhere in the world that we have influence, they seek to attack it, including here in the homeland. If you look at the domestic terrorists, at the attacks that have happened here domestically, the overwhelming majority of them have been inspired by radical Islamic viewpoints. And that includes the shooting in the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. That includes the Saudi pilot in Pensacola, my home state, 2 attacks.
So Rubio laying out the national security case. Now watch what happens at the local level in North Carolina, where residents packed a town meeting over a proposed mosque. They say it was pushed without real notice. Hundreds of North Carolinians stormed a town council to protest the proposed 5,000 square foot mosque in Mooresville, North Carolina, that they weren't told about.
Examine closely whether the building of this mosque is right for this community. I personally say no to Sharia law and this Muslim center.
How can you serve and protect us when you can't even tell us about a proposed mosque in our backyard?
It was a full house tonight at the Mooresville Commissioners meeting as the town considers a new mosque in the city that has been met with controversy. Many in attendance voiced their concerns about the new complex, with complaints ranging from traffic issues and a lack of transparency, as the potential property was not listed on tonight's agenda. The Board Commissioner responding to those citizens tonight, saying the property has been approved for religious use since it was annexed into the town limits back in 1998. And they went on to detail how much space the building would take up and encourage the community to continue to share their concerns about any proposed project.
So the Mooresville crowd showed what happens when the citizens feel blindsided. In McKinney, Texas, the turnout was even bigger. After 5 hours of public anger, the council still rammed through a 7-0 vote. 2 fully packed rooms, standing room only in the lobby. McKinney, Texas showed up last night. McKinney, Texas does not want another mosque. Everyone's there to oppose it. People are just, they don't want it in their backyard. They're tired of it. So McKinney residents got a full display of the disconnect between the people and the political class, and critics say the same surrender mindset runs all the way to the top in Texas, right to Greg Abbott's own public outreach. Did you hear about what Greg Abbott said? Oh, this will blow your mind. Abbott proclaims Texas will be the land for the Indian community. Deplore.me says the invasion went from him lighting Diwali candles in the governor's mansion to the now open pagan ritual burnings in public spaces. Oh, how Texas has fallen. All it took was a little flaming monkey excrement. A religious cleansing of our land is way overdue, they write. So here is Abbott.
Long as I'm governor of this great state, Texas will be a land for the Indian community, a land for Africa. And we will continue to celebrate Diwali here in the great state of Texas. So happy Diwali, everybody.
Okay, why do we have to keep like hyphenating everything and just giving everybody everything? It's like, you know, can't we just be Americans? I understand the whole religious freedom thing, but come on. So Abbott talks about what Texas will be for newcomers, but the next clip goes to the deeper fear driving the backlash, an argument that infiltration isn't accidental, it's the strategy. Muslim Brotherhood leaders openly explain how they plan to conquer America and Europe and destroy Western civilization. Oh, and it was all on a nice little Zoom call. Yeah.
100 years of our trial to conquer Europe by force failed. They did something wrong, very wrong. They tried for many years to conquer Europe through wars, only wars.
This is the soft Islamic conquest of the West. Basically, what the Islamic and again, I'm an Orthodox Muslim. What we couldn't do in the last, say, 20 years, now the West is doing it for us for free and even paying for it.
Allah permitted them to live off the infidel while they are subduing them. So it had sort of a parasitic type of attitude where they can live off of the host country, where their goal is to eventually eradicate the host culture and supplant it with Islam.
So that warning about soft conquest is exactly why this next exchange matters. Ted Cruz draws a clear constitutional line: protect religious liberty, but go after any group funding or backing terrorism.
Growth, quite bluntly, of Islam, of mosques, of Muslim communities all across the state of Texas, and it's not isolated to the state of Texas. How do you draw the line? How do you create a society safe from the radicalism of, for example, the Muslim Brotherhood, and maintain a pluralistic society where you have the freedom of religion under the First Amendment? Can those two concerns live hand in hand?
Absolutely. And as with so many questions, the Constitution provides the answer. The Constitution protects free speech. Each of us has a right to say what we wish. The Constitution also protects religious liberty. Each of us has a right to worship God as we believe right, as our conscience dictates. What it does not allow, however, are actions that are harmful, and in particular, funding and supporting terrorism, sending money to terrorist organizations that they use to commit murder and acts of violence. The Muslim Brotherhood is not a peaceful religious organization. And by the way, Sharia law.
So Cruz says the line is simple: freedom of religion does not cover support for terror. Shifting gears, another fight over justice is breaking wide open, with Stewart Rhodes and Oath Keepers seeing their convictions swept away, convictions wiped out. The seditious conspiracy convictions against Oath Keepers founder Stewart Rhodes and 11 others are gone. It finally happened. A federal judge signed off on Wednesday after the Trump DOJ moved to vacate the cases. Judge Amita Mehta, the same judge who handed Rhodes 18 years, said prosecutors had the authority to drop them even while he disagreed. The DOJ filing said it's not in the interest of justice to continue to prosecute this case. Trump already commuted the sentences. Now the felony records go too. So who owes these men an apology? Source Fox News. While the system finally backs off those prosecutions, the cultural clashes keep boiling every day in America. This next clip out of New York shows a confrontation that critics say reflects a deeper collision over basic American norms. Walking a dog is an American as anything. American culture is dog culture. Americans love dogs. Muslims do not. They consider dogs to be prohibited by Islamic law, haram. So watch what happens in New York City.
This is New York. You about to fuck him up. You ate that ass. Wait, dead ass? What's happening right now? Dead ass. Dead ass? Get away with your fucking dog, man.
This guy won't leave him alone.
You're walking away already, okay? You're gonna walk towards me. So I'm not laughing. That was the kids there.
Wow. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. That was New York City. Street level blow up in New York feeds a bigger question about who gets protected and who gets blocked, because the next clip, Coca-Cola's own website appears to even allow Allah is king and Satan is king while rejecting Jesus is king. You got to see this.
Coca-Cola, I'm going to need an explanation for this. All right, we're going to do this one live because I don't want to see any comments that, oh, this is a conspiracy theory, blah, blah. You can see we're on the Coca-Cola website, URL right there. We're going to scroll down to personalize our Coke can. The first entry we're going to try is Allah is King. No issues with that. You can see it on the Coke can. Next entry we're going to try. No issues with that. Let's even try Satan is King. Zero issues with Satan. Now let's try Jesus is King. Now that's where there's issues. So you can still see the Satan on the Coke can here. Immediately rejects Jesus is King. Gonna need an explanation on this one.
It says the name or phrase you submitted is not permitted. Wow. So what does that tell you, right? The same double standards Americans are sick of. Christianity gets flagged while everyone else gets a free pass. And now Ted Cruz Senate hearing adds another piece with a witness directly tying the Muslim Brotherhood to the Democrat Socialists of America.
Muslim Brotherhood also partner with political groups such as the Democratic Socialists of America.
Yes, sir, they do.
Simple enough, right? So that's exactly the kind of connection the corporate press works overtime to bury. Then Mike Johnson broadens the fight, saying this isn't just left versus right, it's America-loving patriots versus America-hating communists. It's no longer Republican versus Democrat, not even common sense versus crazy. It's America-loving versus America-hating communists, and today's Democrat Party has shown us who they really are. Democrats want to destroy America. Republicans love America and will fight to keep the United States the greatest country in the history of the world. And he posted this picture. Look at that. The Democrat donkey tied together with the hammer and sickle. So he frames the battle in very blunt terms, but the next warning comes from someone who says she's lived under the system Americans are being told not to question. A Sharia law survivor from Iran explains what he believes the West is inviting in.
Hello, my name is Erika. I'm a Sharia law survivor from Iran. And I'm here to tell you this is a dangerous ideology you're allowing in their country. Every country that is Islamic now, it used to be a Christian country. And we were soft Christians and we allowed these people to come in, bring their Sharia law into their countries and slowly kill us off left and right. Let me make it very clear to you. Christianity is a personal relationship with God where it says, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. Islam is Sharia law, deen wa dawah, religion and state, which is not even compatible with the American thing. And when these people will use taqiyya to lie to you, to manipulate you, because whenever Islam is little, they will lie to you and tell you they come in peace. This is level 1. Level 2 is what's happening in UK right now, where you have two-tier policing, where you have like the blasphemy laws, Islamophobia, racism, all this nonsense that they talk about. First of all, Islam is not a race. So anytime you criticize Islam, they will use the race card. But every country has this disgusting ideology inside their country, including my own country, Iran, Russia. Islamophobia is another made-up bullshit because they don't want you to criticize their death cult. That's why they will put that. That's why they push it in UK. In every country they go to, M103 is in Canada right now. They deliberately try to silence us. And the worst people that are trapped in it is Muslims themselves because they can't leave that death cult. Because they're told, if you question that disgusting book, you're called a kuffar. And they get killed over it, just like my friends who are apostates in prison or dead right now in Iran. I'm telling you, this is a bad idea, and you're going to regret not listening to people like us who lived under Sharia law. Thank you, Eddie.
Wow. So, after hearing that firsthand warning, look at the scale of what critics say is already taking root here. Nancy Mace points to a massive Arbian march in Dearborn and asks why the left opened the door after Americans spent years fighting terror overseas. She says our troops went overseas and fought against terrorism for over a decade. They came home, and the left let these exact people into our country. 35,000 people filled Dearborn streets for largest Erbayin march in America. Nancy Mace outright calling them all terrorists. Do you agree with that? But these are the visuals that have been going viral all day today. Continuing, her point is about what America has allowed in. Now we turn to President Trump himself reacting after yet another heavily armed suspect was caught near one of his golf clubs, breaking his silence on a potential foiled assassination plot at his golf club by a man named Janine.
Was a threat. There was a man who was arrested, seemed to be heavily armed near the property here on Sunday. It's an ongoing concern, sir. Talk about that for briefly, if we can.
Well, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents. And I am definitely consequential. I mean, if you look at the economy, if you look at what's happening, Iran, as an example, will never have a nuclear weapon. They already can't, but it's going to be formal. The strait's going to be open very soon, or they're going to get hit very hard, and then the strait's going to be open. We were going to a tremendous attack, the biggest since World War II. And they called me and said, very politely, please, can we talk? Can we talk? They didn't want. And I said, yes, we can talk. Let's get it done. Finally, let's get it done. This should have been done by other presidents for 50 years. You know, you keep hearing 47, but that's been for 3 years now. It's been over 50 years. Other presidents or other countries should have been able to do this. And I did something that I had to do, because if they had a nuclear weapon, this whole world would be a different place.
If they back out.
So Trump says only consequential presidents draw this kind of threat, and the details are chilling. The next report lays out the charges, the loaded weapons, the fake badge, and what investigators say they found at the suspect's home.
Federal charges filed against this man, 38-year-old Janine John Tale of Downey. Officers arresting him this weekend at Trump National after Tale was spotted taking photos and video of security preparations for Mr. Trump's visit. A badge and a number of guns later recovered in his truck and at his Downey address. And earlier tonight, protesters and supporters showing up at Trump National for the president's event to raise money for the Republican National Committee ahead of the midterm elections. Eyewitness News reporter Tim Pulliam live in Rancho Palos Verdes tonight covering the president's visit. Tim.
Yeah, Mark, the president was here at a fundraiser speaking about the nation's economy and crime. His visit received mixed reviews. New video shows President Donald Trump on Marine One departing LAX. Earlier, the president spent a few hours at a Republican fundraising dinner at his golf club in Rancho Palos Verdes. Trump delivered remarks about the economy and crime. His arrival to the ritzy venue via Marine One created a spectacle. A few supporters greeted him with the American flag and Trump hats.
I'm very excited. I am somebody from California that loves Trump and loves his policies and supports him 100%.
But there were dozens of others who stood by the entrance to his golf club in protest.
We do not support Donald Trump and his policies. He's obliterating government agencies that we need.
At times, supporters and demonstrators clashed. Law enforcement was visible outside the dinner following a brief concern over the weekend. The sheriff's department said they arrested a man Saturday at Trump's golf club after federal agents reported seeing the man taking images of the security plans on site. Deputies detained Janine Tale and claimed they found several loaded guns and ammunition in his possession. On Tuesday, investigators searched the 38-year-old's home in Downey and say they found an illegal AR-style rifle, pistols, high-capacity magazines, body armor, radio devices, and notebooks with concerning statements.
My son has seen him before. He said hello to him one time.
This woman lives near the suspect and doesn't want to be identified. She's surprised.
It's scary. You know, we live here. We're not too far down from the house. But I never got that vibe, you know, because it's like a family. It was like a large, like a good amount of people living in their home. You don't know anybody that was willing to go that far, you know.
Tale facing federal and state charges of carrying a concealed firearm and possession of prohibited ammunition. He is scheduled to appear in court on Wednesday.
So the arrest is just one more sign of how dangerous this moment has become. And in the final clip, Charlie Kirk delivers a warning that hits the core of the fight, an alliance of Marxism and Islamism going after the American way of life.
Spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization.
Rest in peace, Charlie. Rest in peace. Quote, I think Islam hates us. That's what Donald Trump said years ago. And now packed town halls, Muslim Brotherhood conquest talk, and Charlie Kirk's Islam plus Marxism warning have blown the lid off the lie, because Gretchen Whitmer's party, cowardly local councils, and the America-hating machine that Mike Johnson named kept the gates open, while Ted Cruz had to say the obvious out loud: the Muslim Brotherhood is not a peaceful religious organization. So that vote in McKinney, Texas, 7-0, after 5 hours of public outrage, demands names, consequences, and recalls. And that's where we hit back. Put every council member, every local planner, every Democrat protector of this garbage on blast, and don't let them hide behind process after they ignored packed rooms and standing lobbies. Trump warned the country when he said, I think Islam hates us. Charlie Kirk warned us about Islam and Marxism linking arms. Ted Cruz drew the constitutional line. Mike Johnson named the bigger war. While patriots get smeared, President Trump still faced a man outside his golf club with hollow point ammunition, body armor, a fake security badge, and a modified AR. That's enough. Drop your town in the comments and send this to one neighbor who still thinks this is harmless, and keep the heat on every official who helped this happen. The Oath Keeper's convictions getting wiped proves this old regime is losing its grip. So that 7-0 McKinney, Texas slap in the face is exactly why you need our inside channel tonight. Text White House to 844-840-4963. Next News Network is credentialed inside the White House. We send what our team pulls straight from the building to your phone nightly before the platforms decide to bury it. And for the ones who are done just reading and watching, text the word signal to that same number and enlist in the Next News Signal Corps, a citizens' comms grid with real missions, real ranks, briefings, and a command center that the legacy press cannot switch off. Wow, that one went, wow, that was almost 30 minutes. Wow, I didn't expect it to go that long, but hey, you know, it's really difficult. We have so much news to cover, try to get it all in, and it's it's a task every single day. All right, we're moving right along. Now we're going to get into the controversy that was trending today after an appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast. Claims were made, and that really serves as the core to our next report, which includes other voices you'll recognize, and really taking Candace Owens to task. And I think she deserves it, though. Let's just be honest. Okay. Okay, the camera's playing nice. Good. Andrew Wilson offered Candace Owens $300,000 to debate her Charlie Kirk claims, and she ducked it. And that number stopped me, because if Candace had proof that Israel, Turning Point USA, and Erika Kirk murdered Charlie, she grabs the cash and says it on camera. Well, she didn't. And wait until you hear the part about Erika just begging her to stop. You see, Erika Kirk publicly asked Candace Owens to stop. And by the next day, Candace's mob smeared the widow too. So sit with that for a moment. Candace took a murdered friend, turned him into content, then fed tens of thousands of lunatics a story that Andrew Wilson says has not a single shred of evidence. Now add the filthiest part. Wilson traced an Act Blue-funded anti-TPUSA outfit called Unfame America Tour, pushing the same poison. So you and I have seen this machine before. The left wants Charlie's movement shattered, and Candace handed them the crowbar. And also new tonight, as Medicare costs keep squeezing retirees, another buried consumer story is breaking through. Millions of seniors overpaying while big insurance profits from confusion, and the trap stays the same. Mailers, robocalls, fine print, and many Americans stay locked into ill-fitting plans. Well, Chapter calls itself a newsroom for your Medicare. Its independent Medicare advisors are the only Medicare advisors who compare every plan nationwide. They review doctors and prescriptions, run a whole file review, and report back the truth on what actually fits. It's the kind of verification scammy mailers never want compared side by side under real scrutiny. If you already have the right coverage, Chapter offers best plan verification. If not, they'll help you switch. Real scrutiny changes stories fast, and it takes one call, runs under 20 minutes, and costs you nothing. Give them a call at the number on your screen, 910-728-4109. Now, Candace Owens is now floating that Charlie Kirk was a time traveler. Yeah, a time traveler. We're not watching an investigation here. We are watching a fame addict torch a dead man's legacy with weirder and uglier garbage every day. And the tweets that I'm about to show you expose the whole parasite pylon. So we'll start with the anchor point here that Andrew Wilson says this is from the Joe Rogan show. This was trending. Says he offered Candace Owens $300,000 to debate her Charlie Kirk claims, and reveals what Erika Kirk told him. Listen to this.
Other side, though, in this particular conspiracy, you can't get these people to debate their positions.
Like, who won't debate their positions?
We offered Candace Owens, I offered her $300,000 to do a debate. I was like, we'll give you $300,000.
What is her position? What does she think happened?
She thinks that Israel worked in conjunction with TPUSA and Erika Kirk to murder Charlie.
Based on what?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. Nobody actually knows. She's never presented a single shred of evidence thus far that Israel ever worked to murder Kirk, that Erika Kirk certainly didn't. In fact, her position for the longest time was if Erika Kirk comes out and tells me to stop the conspiracy on this, I will. So Erika did. She went out publicly and she was like, enough. You're just causing more problems than good here as this investigation's going on. And then suddenly Erika's now part of the conspiracy. By the next day, she's trying to cover it up. She's part of the conspiracy too. When I went to the TPUSA HQ, and I talked to Erika briefly while I was there, the first thing I did was what I think every normal, moral human being would ever do. I gave her a hug. And I told her how god-awful sorry I was that happened to her. Like, could you even imagine how that's got to feel for her? Especially now that she has tens of thousands of people accusing her of murdering and conspiring to murder and then cover up what happened to her own. I mean, that's like mind-boggling psychological torture on a level that I've never seen.
Yeah, and hindsight is 20/20, but given the reaction, I think it probably would have been better for her to like lay low for a little while.
1000%.
The going out with the sparklers was not a great idea. Like, all that was not a great idea because it just seemed insane. And maybe sometimes in grief or when, you're trying to show that they're not going to hold us back, people make choices that could be interpreted in a very bad way.
100%. The interesting thing is I asked her about that. I asked her, like, what's the deal there?
What's with the sparklers?
Well, what's with the aberration in behavior? And
Right.
She's like, look, I was put in like the most the worst spot I could ever think of. I was the background character. I was just there to support my husband. That's it. The only reason I even really got involved is because Charlie was so pro-marriage, you know, and he wanted to demonstrate to the world you can be married and have kids, and this is the good life. So when he dies, she takes over, right? This moves over to her control. She says, well, the first thing I want to do is honor his last book. You know, that's the very first thing I want to do. I want to honor his legacy. And she's like, I don't know exactly how to take this position. At the same time, there's expectations for the organization my husband built that I want to honor, right? But, you know, I'm also in the middle of grief. And it's like, I don't know how you balance that position. Who's been in that position ever?
Right. And especially who's been in that position that's not accustomed to being scrutinized in the public eye.
Everything. And
yeah, she had a lot to deal with in those moments. There's no playbook for that. But Candace would not defend the claim even when the money was on the table. Now watch where this goes next, because Candace starts talking about Charlie Kirk like some kind of a time traveler. Yeah. She's saying that Charlie Kirk was a time traveler.
Did Charlie think he was a time traveler? He said, as I showed you in earlier messages, that he was a time traveler and he had to find me. Is that just something people are saying to their homies in text messages? And again, not anything that I would have placed so much emphasis on back when he was saying it, but it came to fruition. The other parts, he did die young. Why did he think that him dying young was necessary in order to change things? He did die young. It is related to Turning Point USA. In some way or another, at the very least, we could all agree it's related to him speaking at a campus event for Turning Point USA. I'm totally occupied by this. I tell you, I read these messages and I'm going, what is this? What is reality, actually? And Charlie died. Yes, like I said, it was related to this organization. And I think we would all agree that his death and the manner that they did it changed the world in ways that I don't think we can fully realize.
Yeah, so Charlie Kirk, apparently a time traveler. So it moves from unproven murder accusations to the stranger theory about the message's destiny and time travel. Next, Jeremy Boring, the former head of the Daily Wire, steps in and says Erika Kirk should sue over what he calls outright defamation.
People are like, should Erika sue Candace? Yes. If the worst act of public defamation in U.S. history isn't defamation,
then it doesn't exist.
Set aside the entire idea of defamation law. There is no defamation. Right. So this is like, there is no defamation if this isn't defamation. There is no demonic if this isn't demonic. 2 weeks ago, it seemed like everyone, like the scale sort of fell from a lot of people's eyes. And then over the last week, we've seen new voices sort of jump into the fray to reinforce this I don't know what to call it, nihilistic conspiracy nonsense.
So after the time traveler claim and the pushback gets even sharper, Boring says not just reckless commentary, it's one of the worst public smears that he's ever seen.
I don't know Erika. I don't know what she'll become. I know that at Charlie's funeral, she was the most important human being on planet Earth for 1 hour. And she used the occasion of her one moment, a moment that most people will never experience, her one moment of being the most important person on planet Earth, she used to honor her husband, to defend his legacy, and to forgive his murderer. So I don't know Erika, but I would say that it's hard to imagine any human having used that moment to greater effect than she did. I hope that she's very successful in the role. I think she'll be very successful in the role, but she won't be Charlie. Maybe TPUSA will be bigger than it's ever been. Maybe it'll do even better things than it would have done under Charlie, but it won't be the same. Charlie is dead. And with it, something really beautiful and important in the movement.
So he defends Erika Kirk's character in no uncertain terms. Next, you'll hear him go further, praising, or no, actually, this is Ian Miles Chong. This is either mental illness or straight up retardation, he says. Candace Owens says she feels, if we're still allowed to feel, that Charlie Kirk is on her side and fighting right alongside her. She just won't stop dragging his corpse behind her while she runs the same victory laps every day. Nothing makes Candace happier than the fact that Charlie Kirk is dead, and she can now use his dead body as a prop.
Back to you guys as well, because I wasn't in a good place last year. I wasn't in a good place in Q1 of this year. I'm now in a good place. And I also just feel, if we're allowed to feel, I just feel Charlie's presence now. Like it's like we're on one more tour, like one more fight. Like we're just hitting the ground again right now. I know he's on our side, I guess is what I'm saying. And that energy of Charlie was just so big and so bright that we're very lucky that we have him on our side. I wouldn't want to be up against him, that's for sure. So, yeah, they couldn't cage him. You know, I wake up and I just see every trend dedicated to Charlie in the news and people discussing it. And I just laugh at the idiot fools who thought they were just going to end the Charlie Kirk story at a memorial convention, which was effectively thrown like it was a concert. And now those people who were so happy at the memorial event, clinking glasses thereafter, are very bitter and very angry. And somehow, not in the immediate aftermath, they weren't angry. Now they're very angry. I wonder why that is.
So, now we have the meme. Enter the memes. Here we are. Hear me out. Hear me out. Right? And now we have Andrew Wilson's post. Honestly, the Owens stuff is just plain boring. Never anything new, just the same old shit package as bombshell, explosive new evidence, and it's just all speculative garbage. Even the same retards arguing the same non-points. It's even fun, not even fun to mock anymore. And here's more from Andrew Wilson. This is where it gets really interesting. A progressive group funded through Act Blue that sought to destroy Charlie Kirk's TPUSA is now helping push Candace Owens' theory that TPUSA insiders killed him.
Right now, you have progressives who are funded by Act Blue, right? And I've proven this. We traced all their money. It's progressives funded by Act Blue who are pushing the same narrative that like Candace Owens and others are pushing on the idea of Charlie Kirk's death and the conspiracy around that. So
they're absolutely being paid to push this?
Well, their stated mission, this particular progressive group, their stated mission was to take down TPUSA. I'll tell you a story. This is the tale of all tales.
Okay.
So Charlie Kirk has this huge outreach program that's happening through TPUSA on these college campuses. He's got viral clip after viral clip after viral clip, and they are going wild. He's going campus to campus. He's doing his thing. He's being dogged by a progressive organization. This progressive organization shows up at almost all of these TPUSA events with the stated mission of trying to create a counter movement to what TPUSA is doing. Now, the woman who heads this particular organization received millions of dollars from Act Blue and other progressive organizations for this stated mission. That same woman right this second works with other X accounts to push the messaging that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by his own TPUSA insiders in order to push that narrative forward. Wow. Because the stated goal still from that organization is to destroy TPUSA.
So how do we know that they've done this? Are there emails that have been found? Well,
the stated goal of this particular person
is to take down
TPUSA.
Right.
She's very open about that. And then the way that you know that they are talking to these other accounts is because they do it publicly. Those public accounts will talk to this account, right? Mm-hmm. Very openly. They reaffirm each other's posts. They say, wow, that's real interesting, this kind of thing. All affirming that same conspiracy that TPUSA was the ones who actually set up and murdered Charlie Kirk. And at millions of dollars in Act Blue funding going towards this. No joke. Anybody can look it up right now. The organization's called Unfuck America.
Well, there you have it. There is no defamation if there isn't defamation. There is no demonic if this isn't demonic. That's what Jeremy Boring said, and he nailed it, because Candace Owens took Andrew Wilson's refused $300,000 challenge, Erika Kirk's direct plea to stop, and the total absence of evidence, and then still built a cannibalistic smear machine around Charlie Kirk's assassination for clicks, ego, and movement sabotage. Candace Owens owes Erika Kirk a full public retraction, and every amplifier owes Charlie Kirk an apology. No more games, no more fake bombshells, no more treating a murdered man like a prop for engagement farming. Andrew Wilson put $300,000 on the table. Candace ran. Jeremy Boring drew the moral line and called it what it is. Erika showed grace at her husband's funeral, and Candace answered that grace with self-obsession, wild-eyed garbage, and a mob that started accusing the widow herself. So we reject that filth flat out. And put this segment everywhere. Drop your verdict in the comments. Send it to the one person still defending this depravity, because the right does not need CNN lies on one side and corpse-dragging conspiracy merchants on the other. So that's the take right there. This is just shameful language that continues to spread, and you can only think that, she's a honeypot that's being brought out to draw out the crazies so that all the crazies can be tracked. And that 300,000 duck and that widow smear spiral are exactly why people want the raw feed before the platforms start playing games. So text White House to 844-840-4963. Next News Network works credentialed inside the White House, and we push reports pulled straight from the building to your phone at night before the algorithm decides what vanishes. And if reading that briefing is not enough anymore, take the next step and text Signal to that same number so you can enlist in the Next News Signal Corps. Rank up through real missions and report to a command center built for an information war the legacy press cannot shut down. All right, that's the wrap tonight, folks. Thank you for joining us at this late hour on Trump Daily Posts, as well as at Next News on X, and on our flagship YouTube channel, also streaming on my personal Facebook page, on Twitch, and on Rumble. So we're covering all the ground that we need to continue pushing this message out to anyone who will listen, for any ear that is open to hear, and any person who is willing to act. And that's what is most important. We need people who are willing to take action every single day. And that's why we work so hard into these late hours to bring and compile the news that you can use. And it's really important to check out the Signal Corps too. It's growing. It's really exciting to see all the action. And of course, those new briefings that are going to be prepared for each unique viewer, or in each new unique user, member of the Signal Corps. You have access to that, and it's a shareable piece of content from the Next News Network Intelligence Agency. Also, when we release our White House reports, we compile those into a presidential daily brief that you can download, you can share, you can read, and those are also, of course, tailored to each individual Signal Corps member. So when you share it, if you read it carefully, you'll see your name, your call sign at the bottom of those briefings. Pretty cool stuff. Took a minute to program everything to make it work for you, but I think it's really cool. So anyway, thanks for joining us on this late hour. I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night and God bless.